All right, it is 4 minutes gone past the hour of 9 on the AM side, and this is Eagles Outlook right here on Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. Remember that we give you an audio-visual radio experience that you can count on anytime, any day. Recall that I also mentioned just sometime around 8 o'clock that I was going to be right back just after Vicky Vic, the sports minister on radio, has, charged you with what's going on in sports. But this time, we are talking politics, we are talking current affairs, and what else is there to talk about? There's so much to talk about today, being the 30th day in the month of October of 2024. My name is Uduak Daniel. Right. Well, it's no news anymore. There's been a lot of brouhaha. There's a lot of talk going on when it comes to the issues of, the back and forth between the Dangote refinery and the NNPCL. Well, it's no more news, as you already are saying that, hey, I know some of you who say that enough is enough. I don't want to hear anything about Dangote refinery and NNPCL. But then the reality of the, oil sector keeps staring at us right in our faces. And we cannot still stop, or do away from talking about these issues. But then some would also say that in the midst of all of this, we still have issues that border around hardship, and we're every now and then on a daily, it's seeming as if the fluctuations is ongoing in terms of the foreign exchange, where the dollar is gaining stronger against the naira. And should we even record any sort of gains, it might just be 0.0 something or 0.25 or 75 point something zero. And does it indeed make any significant success for us? Does it have implication to our economy? Only yesterday we mentioned something that had to do with the local government autonomy, and today we are looking at something again that borders around collecting of loans. And if you also recall, one of such conversations that we had sometime in the past has been the fact that maybe, just maybe, we should stop the over-dependency that we are having on the IMF as well as the World Bank. And it is said that he that pays the piper dictates the tune. Now, you wouldn't expect that the World Bank and the IMF at one point or the other have been giving us handouts. We go begging with both of our hands and probably on our knees for their loans, and they give us these loans, and they would not orchestrate how these monies will be spent or certain policies that would indeed, maybe they're benefiting one way or the other, just knowing that Nigeria is an impoverished, nation, even in the midst of plenty. But that's also put on the sidelines, right? Some have also sufficed. You have also said that, look, you wouldn't have a problem with taxation or being taxed in the country, as long as that tax is being put into proper use, as long as there is some levels of sustainability, transparency, and accountability, you wouldn't have a problem, paying such taxes. As long as it's being put in capital projects, as long as it's being put in revitalizing, moribund refineries, as long as it's been put into re-engineering the education sector, as long as it's been put into giving the right infrastructure to the health sector, as long as this tax is being used appropriately and not misappropriated, you don't have a problem paying this tax. But then governments have now heard and said, okay, maybe that is how we will indeed make this money, so we don't have to borrow, from the international community. More taxation here and there. If you remember, the telcos were given, is it an excise duty, 5% tax, where they rejected it and said, no, we will not be a part and parcel of that. In fact, they've even complained about the banks owing them, is it USSD now, monies and all of that, to the tune of what? I think it's in millions or billions, and they've threatened that they will put a stop, to their services in the country. And you and I know what that would mean. Communication cripples businesses, cripples every other facet of our particular lives. But then, northern governors of Nigeria, indeed, have also come out and their monarchs to rejecting a tax reform bill. I mean, the governors of Nigeria's northern states and traditional rulers rejected the proposal, a law that would change how taxes are being collected and shared. Now, why are they opposed to it? Are you asking the same question? Well, one of such reasons is because the new law would distribute taxes based on where goods and services are bought, not where companies are located. Right? And the northern governors think this would unfairly reduce their region's tax revenue. Right? They believe the law would harm the north and other regions. They want the federal policies to be implemented equally and fairly across all regions. And the controversy is that some people are criticizing the northern governors for their ban on alcohol sales in their states due to Islamic law, but want to benefit from taxes collected on alcohol sales in other states. That would mean hypocrisy, right? Some are also placing their controversy on the lack of self-reliance, where they should focus on generating revenue within their states instead of relying on federal taxes, right? But then that brings us to the topical issue where we would be discussing this and many more, especially Nigeria's 750 million World Bank loan, right? 750 million World Bank loan, tax reforms, as well as economic implications, right? It's no news anymore. I mean, Nigeria's economy stability has been of great concern for years, and many a time we have tried to bring out policies to grapple with this unending potpourri of challenges that we face as a country. One of such would be corruption, insecurity, and even the declining oil revenues, where just recently we've had you also say that, hey, maybe it's time the president throw in the towel in terms of being the minister of petroleum resources and allowing for some other person to take over that position, as it were. And the World Bank's 2.25 billion US dollar loan package is aimed to supporting Nigeria's economic stability and vulnerable populations. I mean, the 750 million US dollar loan specifically is tied to critical tax reforms under the Accelerate and Resource Mobilization Reforms AMOR program. Now, Nigeria is set to receive 750 million US dollar loan from World Bank. You heard me. 750 million US dollar loan from World Bank. That's what we are set to receive as it stands now. And the contingent will, of course, upon implementing tax reforms. Now, the loan is aimed to boost tax revenue and efficiency. I mean, some of the key targets include increasing VAT collections to 1.8% of non-oil GDP, unlocking 105 million US dollars. And then, of course, we have registering 660,000 VAT filers, releasing 30 million US dollars, and then launching an e-invoicing system triggering 20 million US dollars, increasing excise taxes on health and environmental products. All right, introducing a 5% excise duty on telecommunication services, gaming, and betting. right? Now, some of the stakeholders that are included in this whole entire process would be the federal government of Nigeria, as it should be, World Bank, Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, Nigeria Customs Service, Minister of Finance, Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms as well. But let me give you just a little bit of scenario. Let's point a bit of a scenario right now and see how far, that takes us just before we engage our guest who's going to be joining us in a short bit via phone call. Imagine being a small business owner. Yes, you are a small business owner, an entrepreneur, in Nigeria, right? And then you're struggling to comply with complex tax regulations. Now, the proposed tax reforms, is aimed to simplify some processes and increase revenue, but may also burden small businesses and low-income, individuals. Historically, though, we have struggled with tax revenue collection, and that has left us to relying heavily on oil exports. And quite a number of persons are saying that, look, the earlier we begin to allow states and your state governors to begin to look inwardly, to look at the resources that they have, to tap into these resources and do good for themselves, the better for us and the economy. And all of these MPR raising here and there by the CBN, may not totally be necessary. Just on the front page of Nigerian newspapers this morning, we saw where Cardoso had said he will do everything implementable, everything within his powers to ensuring that we got it rightly this time in terms of the economy. And many economists, experts have come out to telling him that, look, you cannot tackle inflation by constantly raising the MPR. You want local businesses to die. And in as much as you're trying to woo foreign direct investment and all of that, it may not just be the way forward. It may not just be what we need to do. And they've given their very robust, suggestions as to what, can be done or must be done in that, light. But then, yes, we have faced a lot of tax revenue collection issues, struggled with it over time. We relied over on oil exports. And previous attempts at tax reforms have faced resistance. If you look at the economic factors, though, Nigeria's economy faces challenges including inflation. We face unemployment. We face corruption being very cardinal. We cannot stop talking about it. Now, if you also want to consider it from the social factors, aspect, you will also understand that tax reforms may impact low-income individuals and small businesses. Now, what would be the critical questions that could be asked in this regard? But just before we jump into the critical, questions, let me introduce our guest, who is in the person of Mr. Adefolari Olamilekan, right? And he is a political economist, lead researcher, policy analyst at Pole Echo Analytics, a think tank and economic research organization that is based in Abuja, Nigeria, right? Still trying to connect with him. But whilst that is ongoing, it is very necessary and important to also let you in on some of the very strong statements that, these stakeholders have engaged in. One of such would be the Minister of Finance, who has said the loan, and I quote, he said, the loan will support our economic stability and vulnerable populations. A World Bank representative is saying Nigeria must implement critical tax reforms to access the loan. And FIRS chairman is saying we will simply tax processes and increase revenue. And then presidential chairman or committee chairman saying tax reforms will stimulate economic growth, and small business owners, of course, are not left out, as they are also saying that tax reforms may burden small businesses and low-income individuals. But then we're going to yet another borrowing spree. And let's join up with our guest now, Mr. Adefolari Olamilekan. Welcome and good morning to Eagles Outlook today.
Good morning to you, Duak, and good morning to all our esteemed listeners on Eagles FM.
Lovely. All right. Well, we're talking about, a topical issue that borders around yet another 750 million US dollar World Bank loan, and it will be bordering on tax reforms and economic implications, right? And the World Bank has given some sort of audacious catch as to how we can benefit from the 750 million US dollars loan. They said one of it would be for us to engage and increase our tax revenue collection system. That where we don't do that, we will not be able to indeed access the 750 million US dollar tax, no, not tax, a loan, for Nigeria. But it has some implications. I mean, quite a number of implication, is involved right there. Now, that we must go through a tax reform. Now, I want to ask, especially in the light of the fact that is it the president now has submitted, is it a bill now where he is, putting out tax reforms, and the northern states and governors and monarchs have rejected that tax reform. And if you also recall, some time ago we've had conversations like this, that hey, how do we stop the continuous indebtedness to this, institutions, international institutions such as the World Bank and IMF? And many have said, well, maybe it's high time we begun to tax ourselves, or get into a taxing system that, will enable for us to, look inwardly and not want to look externally. What will be your thoughts, in all of this? And you might as well want to tell us, what you think about this tax reform that the president is putting out there for consideration.
I think to start is to simply express that based on what you have been able to put out from the narrative that you have shown, going to World Bank to collect 750 million, in respect that there is a conditionality, and that conditionality will remind us of SAP. Many of us have forgotten, and many people are even saying that we will not be talking about SAP again. SAP has been remodeled, and one of the conditionality of remodeling of SAP is to ensure that countries follow the dictation of World Bank, IMF, so they can access some loans. And that's why we have found ourselves today. We are going for 750 million US dollars just to implement a tax reform. And that money will be expended on some audio policy action of government that nobody will even know when that money is spent or what that money is spent on. So what I'm trying to say in summary is that SAP is back, but in a remodeled way with a new conditionality that many Nigerians will not be suspicious that this is to further stimulate the economy. Now, let me quickly educate our listener on one or two things about all these loans that we get from IMF and World Bank. Now, there are three major ways that this money are put into economy. One, they call it about stabilization. Second, they call it about structural adjustment.
We didn't get the first one. The first one is what?
The first one is stabilization, to stabilize the economy for growth. I think that's one of the goals. That's one of the aim of the 750 million US dollars they want to receive, so that we can implement some tax reform. Then the second one is structural adjustment. The third one is sectorial adjustment. The last one is social adjustment. Now, stabilization focus on when you have a shortage of you have acute shortage of foreign reserve. And I can authoritatively tell you that one of the reasons why the government is going for that 750 million is because of the shortage of foreign currency, dollar. So they can be able to absorb, collect that money and put it in our foreign reserve. Then they will now print a naira equivalent of that money and inject into the economy. That's one of the essence for stabilization. Then structural adjustment focus on your fiscal and monetary policy.
All right, like Mr. Deflari, you might want to, slow down a bit. It seems like you're a bit fast, if that's okay, so we can grasp it. Yeah, I know there's a lot to say, though. Okay. I know. All right, yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm doing this partner because of time.
Yeah,
so let me go back now. The stabilization fund, the stabilization aspect is in case a country is suffering from debt and it's also having acute. When we mean acute, that means shortage of foreign currency like dollar. And in our case, we have that problem.
Right.
So one of the reasons why government is going for that money is because we have shortage in foreign currency. You get it? Our foreign reserve is about 38 or 39 billion US dollars. So they need more money. They need more dollars to raise it up. So, and when they collect this 750 million US dollars, they will print a naira equivalent of it. and put into the economy.
Okay.
Then a structural adjustment aspect, which this loan will also address, is what the tax reform is part of, which is under fiscal policy of the government. Now, the fiscal policy of the government, according in the view of President Tinubu, we need to improve government revenue. If you also remember that part of the policy that is coming up as a result of this money they're collecting is about assessing revenue mobilization in Nigeria, something like that. I think you have a document that speaks to that. So that's one of the. So it is about structural adjustment in our fiscal policy. Meanwhile, and I also want to put in Nigerians know that the issue about tax reform is a global agenda by capitalist countries and capitalist institutions. So when I mean capitalist institutions and capitalist countries, they are countries that are embellished in capitalist principles, which is all about free market economy. And the reason why they are doing this is because they believe that government doesn't have any business in business. So government should just hands off all business activities and allow private businesses to be running. So the only way government can make money from these private businesses is to tax them. And that is why this policy is coming in. So in one way, IMF, World Bank, and other international bodies have encouraged Nigeria to be a free capitalist economy, a free market economy. So government have adopted that. Now, the only way government can survive now is to now collect tax from those businesses and individual and everybody. So that is what is bringing up. How we government is also engaged in business as expected. Nobody will be talking about accepting tax reform of any kind. That's one. Then thirdly, the sectorial adjustment of the loan is to also put that money in certain sectors, like what the government have identified. There is infrastructural gap, there is a educational gap, there is human capital gap. So those sectorial, that money will also be put into sectorial aspect whereby they will now put money into ministries, into agencies of government, so they can be doing some activities. That's what. Then the last part of the loan, which I know they want to implement, is what social adjustment. This is where the issue of palliative comes in. This is where part of that money will be used to cater for people who they call poor people, so that they will give them money, they will give them stipend. This is where that part of that money will also go. So the 750 million, I've told you where it's going. It's going for stabilization, it's going to social adjustment, it's going to sectoral adjustment, and it's also going for social adjustment. So if you understand all this, and based on the idea of this tax reform, what they are pushing is that so that government can raise more money and inject into the economy, and also be able to allow the economy to be stabilized and grow. But here we are. This is an economy that is import dependent. So how will an economy that is import dependent grow, stabilize? That is the question we should push to them. And this is very critical as we engage in this discussion this morning.
All right, very critical then. But then, some persons would want to say that, with this constant taxation, this tax reform, that it seems as though this is, a shot directed at a cadre of people in the society, talking about the vulnerable and the poor and those who are, entrepreneurs still struggling, to make ends meet, to put a business together, to become employers of labor and all of that. And you and I know it's no news anymore that the private sector are the drivers of the economy. Now, in this regard, where would you place, in the light of this, these tax reforms? Is it targeted at these ones, or is it to help them? At this point.
Now, tax is understood in two ways. There's progressive tax, there's regressive tax. Now, in the regards to the tax reform that the government is carrying out, they regarded it to be a progressive one, meaning that the more you earn, the higher you pay in terms of taxes. I don't know whether the higher you pay, that is why they call it progressive. And it's also progressive in the sense that it is a gradual percentage increase. For instance, the major one that is of bone of contention between the northern governors and the federal government is VAT, value added tax. Now, value added tax is also a global agenda. It is not a Nigerian thing. It is all a narrative push across the world. Different countries call it different name, but in Nigeria, we call it value added tax. It is added. Now, before I even go into value added tax, there are 9 specific areas that federal government collect tax. One of them is capital gains tax. One of them is company profit tax. One of them is industrial levy. One of them is petroleum income tax. One of them is development levy tax. There are 9 of them, including VAT. You get it? So there are 9. The state governments collect tax from 25 different areas. And that's why many people shout that we have multiple taxation, because there is duplication of what federal government is collecting, then state government is also collecting it. For instance, federal government doesn't collect grant rent, but state government collect grant rent. You get it? Now, local government collect about 20 different taxes, which is also multiple in nature. But 3 of them, it's only federal government that administer and collect tax back on their behalf, and they share it. Currently, the federal government is collecting 15% of VAT, where state government and local government share 85%. Now, the challenge with the current VAT arrangement, or before I even dive into the current VAT arrangement, is to express or explain the challenge of tax on the poor. Now, the poor will always be burdened by tax because they consume all the consumables that you can see. All the imported materials and the imported, it is the poor that consume it. All the food items, beverages, drinks, it is the poor that consume it. So, the businesses owners will transfer and transmit the burden of tax on the end user, which is the poor people. Now, for business people who are supporting small businesses like POS businesses, saloon, barbing saloon, pure water factory, what they call the business center, the problem they will have is that they will be offering services to people and they will be buying materials to carry out those services. So the burden of those costs of those materials will be on them. So their businesses may not be growing because they are spending majority of their money on buying necessary materials to conduct their business. So that's where the burden will be on them. Right. Then for the poor people, the end user of those products will be paying more. For instance, we are paying 7.5% VAT on everything that we consume, particularly beverages, alcohol, drinks, food, and other items. So now, 7% now is trying, they are moving it to 10%. Now, if they move it to 10%, it means that if a matching box that costs you 20 naira comes into being. Now, by the time that 10% is added, you should be expecting that a 10% added to 20 naira will give you like maybe 22 naira per matching box, or likely 25 naira, because nobody will sell any matching box for you for 22 naira. It will go to 25 naira. So those are the burdens we can quickly express as an illustration to the burden of tax on Nigeria. Take, for instance, the PMS that we are consuming. There's VAT allocation, there's VAT on it. There's also petroleum income tax on it. So by the time you put all this together, the poor will be on the burden side of taxing. But for the rich, they also will be burdened, but not as extreme as the way the poor people will suffer taxes, because the rich are the owners of means of production. So as they are making money from their means of production, their company, they are passing the burden of the tax on the poor, so they will make more profit from their businesses. So they will not bear the burden, except for personal income tax that government will be bidding them on, because there's also personal income tax that government collects. So that's why I see that people always evade tax, particularly the rich. They always get change documents. Now, to the issue of the rejection of the Northern governor, the rejection of the tax reform is not that they reject the tax reform. They are only against distribution allocation, which the federal government, according to the tax reform, is trying to introduce what they call derivative distribution allocation. I hope you are with me.
Yes, I am. But is that a bad idea?
No, derivative distribution allocation is not a bad idea. It's applied across the world. You know, in the oil and gas sector, we have 13% derivative to Niger Delta. Yes, so what it means is that wherever that money is gotten from, the people that are consuming that product, that the revenue is coming largely, who is from that state to benefit more than other states that people are not consuming. For example, last year NBS report on consumption of beer in Nigeria, Benue State is #1 state in Nigeria that is consuming beer. But guess what? They get lesser than states that are not consuming beer. So derivative now means that if we collect 500 billion naira from beer as a VAT, and Benue State still remain #1 in 2024, then Benue State will receive the largest chunk of VAT out of that 500 billion.
Okay.
I hope you get it.
I get it.
And I hope our listeners are also following. So what is Northern State governors are not saying that? No, if you use derivative allocation formula, it will deny some states some money. And people are now saying that if Northern State want to be part of that, we should allow beer, alcoholic drinks, because alcoholic drink is #1 part revenue generation in Nigeria. Alcoholic and food and beverage. So why would Northern State say they don't want to consume alcohol, or they don't want beer in their state, but they want to collect the allocation that comes from that? So those are the arguments. So and derivative is very, very simple. It's a win-win situation. It's a quick win and a win-win situation for people large derivative. That's why I see that Nigeria Delta is very peaceful today, because 30% derivative they are enjoying is what is giving them that peaceful nature, and NDDC can work for them. So it's a situation whereby you don't use derivative. Everybody is just bringing money to the table. You are bringing 1 naira. Somebody is bringing 10 naira. Another person is bringing 20 naira. When we now bring all the money together, when we want to share, you that bring 1 naira, you'll be collecting the same thing with somebody that brings 10 naira. Is that good? So when we now look at policy trust and policy fairness, in terms of fairness of distribution and equal allocation, this is the argument that has been put forward. So the northern governors are not against the reform, but they are only against a certain clause in the law that will deny them of not enjoying huge revenue from VAT. Meanwhile, the argument is that if you are not contributing much, you should expect less. But if you are contributing much, you should expect more. Just like the case of Benue State I gave now, in terms of beer consumption, they are number one in Nigeria. So how come they are the one consuming beer, but they are the one collecting less VAT when it comes to sharing our location?
All right, well, we'll put it back to your thoughts right there, and let's just go pay some bills. We'll be right back in a short bit. This is Eagles 102.3 FM's Eagles Outlook, the political and current affairs pro show, where we talk politics and current affairs. Don't go away.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
I suppose it was inevitable.
Eagles 102.3.
Have you heard of the latest car maintenance, overhaul and repair service center in Abuja?
Oh, wait a minute.
BB Empire Motor Services Limited is the place. We offer a wide range of services which include full engine repair, brakes and discs, lubrication, industrial spare parts fabrication, digital diagnosing, injector and rotor servicing, wheel balancing alignment, vulcanizing, spare parts of all cars, car checker, recovery of vehicles, AC servicing and repairs of all kinds of cars. You can visit us today at a state-of-the-art multi-digital workshop located at plot 1374 Cadastral Zone C16 along Julius Berger Road, Idu Industrial District, Abuja. You can also call us on 080-6433-3100 or 090-1066-0869. BB Empire Motor Services Limited, the solution for your car needs and services.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Still tuned in and locked on to Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja's Eagles Outlook, where we talk politics and current affairs. We're looking at the topical issue still, Nigeria's $750 million World Bank loan, and looking at some tax reforms and the economic implications, of this. Still with our guest, Mr. Adefolari Olamileko. He's a political economist, lead research and policy analyst at Pole Echo Analytics, a think tank and economic research organization based in Abuja. And yes, let me put out the numbers already. I mean, you've got questions you've got to want to ask in this regard. Let's ask that question already, as this one would be an abridged, prog show this morning because of other programming. 0907-353-0044 is the number to call. And, of course, the WhatsApp portal number is open for your WhatsApp message, as well as, for you to just reach out via text. 0909-705-4450 it is. Let's take this call. Hello and good morning. All right, that's a miss. Right, you already have the numbers, and let's get questions coming. But then, Mr. Adefolari, let's let's look at, let's come back, to the idea of borrowing. I mean, we've always mentioned the fact that, borrowing is not a terrible thing, it's not a terrible idea, but when you borrow, you put in the borrowings or the monies into use, and it leads us to the question that I'm sure quite a number of Nigerians are asking, the place of accountability, the place of transparency, and of course the place of putting these borrowings into the use that we've designed for it to be for. Right? Now, will the loan and tax reform stimulate economic growth from your own economist point of view?
It will be very unfortunate if I say yes, it will stimulate economic growth. the Nigerian economy is having structural issues. You get it. So those structural issues have held down the economy for a very long time. One of the structural issues we normally have on is power, energy. One of the structural issues we normally have on is infrastructure, particularly road infrastructure. The other structural challenge normally pinpoint has to do with this tax reform issue, multiple taxation challenges in the economy. Then the absence of government in the economy is also a structural problem, because when government leave the economic space, say okay, only the private sector should be providing services, providing products, producing products, it becomes a burden on the poor, because the poor will have to pay for whatever services the private companies are giving to them. Now, based on your question, now, as you ask, will you stimulate the economy? My answer is no, because there are already a problem that this particular money is coming to do. And for your information, the $750 million is a short to medium term borrowing. It's not a long term borrowing.
Okay.
It's not a long term of 10 years. It's just between 1 to 3 years. As I earlier pointed out, it's for stability. And when you borrow money for stability purpose, the highest is between 18 months to 24 months. So when you borrow such money, so how will such money help an economy that is already underground in terms of under development, that is suffering from structural deficit? So it's going to be a very big blow on the government. And let us also help ourselves to explain this money.
Okay.
This money, at the end of the day, majority of a good number of that money will go into all new policy programs that Nigerians will not see, they will not hear about it, they will not feel about it. And when I say audio policy program, if you check the outline of the arrangement of this tax reform and why government is going to get the money, you discover that majority of the money will be going into incentive policy programs to train people, to engage people, to make policy pronouncement around the tax reform agenda. So I don't know, the money is not going to be third much. But the first thing is that as the money is coming to the economy, it will land into our foreign reserve. The government will print a naira equivalent of $750 million and begin to use it for the project they want to use it for. Well, and I highlighted that.
Yeah,
hello?
Yeah, Mr. Diffland, let me also very quickly chip in that, right? Considering what we are going through and what we are facing as a country, you already said we're somewhat underground. That doesn't even spell nice, for Nigeria, right? Ordinarily, I would think that we're still at the surface, but for you to say we're underground, it means that there is a problem, right? But considering the era and the times that we are in at this time, do you still consider another $750 million loan from the World Bank as a way out of the quagmire that we are faced with at a time like this? What would you have suggested differently?
I think I get to it. Now, the follow-up question that will come to you is that there was there was an $800 million collected last year. Has anybody seen the impact? That money was put into social adjustment. Part of that money was used for palliative. How many Nigerians receive this palliative? $800 million. They say they are giving people 30,000 naira. They are giving people 10,000 naira. They are also giving, I think it was yesterday, Bank of Industry launched the 750 billion for SME. Then there was an initial 50 billion they shared. There was also an initial 100 billion they shared to 100 companies in Nigeria. And let me also remind our listener that under Emefiele, 100 billion was shared for 100 manufacturing companies in Nigeria, 1 billion each. Did we see the impact of this money? So the follow-up question that will come to is that we have been getting some of this money, but we don't see it in reality. Only few percentage. Let me also shock you. There's a training being conducted by Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment under Industrial Training Fund. Do you know how many people those people train? We have over 70 million youth. We only train 29,000 youth out of 70 million youth. So we have to say, is this money really working? So the problem we normally have with some of this money is that when we get this money from the international body, more than 80% of that money go into audio incentive programs. When I mean audio incentive programs, it go into allowances, it go into transportation, it go into logistics, it go into conferences, it go into training. So you don't see much of this money. But the real money that will go into capital investment that will show up, that will make people to see that government is really working, we only see few percentage of it. Imagine you training 29,000 people out of 70 million youth. And if they tell you how much they spent to train those 29,000 people, you'll be shocked. Currently, the Federal Minister of Communication and Digital Economy is also training people. They say they're training about 3 million youth on ICT skills. That, they call it DIVE. It's a big program that is consuming over $100 million. And ask us, where is this money coming from? It is borrowed. And where is this money used for? It is used for things that Nigerians cannot really pay.
Well,
so those are the challenges we have with some of this money. That's why some of us are against borrowing just to bogus money for international bodies. Or even borrowing locally, so we are against it. When we know that those money will not be put into the right channel, the Nigerians can see. Nigerians are not interested in training anything.
Right.
Put basic infrastructure in place.
All right.
That will safeguard Nigerians.
All right. Let's just take this call and then we'll call it a close. Well, hello and good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning to you, Elder. Talk to us.
Good
You're calling from
morning,
Cuba.
my guest.
Yeah. Go straight.
You don't open my brain today about of this bag. So
Elder, very quickly, please. Maybe one minute. 1 minute. No time.
If the national people
Yes.
don't want them to sell alcohol, they don't expect to pay to get money from that.
Right.
You see, everything when they bring up, they started attacking it. Anything when you don't favor them, they started attacking it. You say you have a career state, you don't sell beer. And then money from beer, you want to share it. Are you here? Allow the place where they collect that, allow them to take the money. And then the one where they collect from my state, you better be care. You open my brain today. All the economic side, you know, I'm not good in economics. But the way you explain it,
Yes.
if you go to best school today, and then God will bless you and reward you.
Right.
Thank you very much. God bless
Thank you so much, though. Appreciate Elder Onaja. Well, anyways, he said I'd open his drink. But, I mean, there are no more drinks to be opened at this point in time, I am afraid, as we'll be putting a leash on this very one for yet another broadcast. But, Mr. Adefolari, I want to say a big thank you. I mean, I wish we could have this conversation some more. But, yeah, this is the much that we can take. I see the phone line still buzzing right now. And definitely, I guess, messages already coming in and all, but I just want to say thank you, and I'm hoping that since this conversation is still a lingering one, it might still be something that, you know, perhaps Omoefe might want to look into maybe tomorrow or next, or it might be something that we'll take the time maybe on Monday of next week, you know, to really break it down so that we can have a proper understanding on it. Thank you once again, though.
All right. Thank you so much, and thank you to all our listeners out there. We wish them a very great day ahead.
Right. Well, this is where we call it a close. I know. You want to put your voice already in this very one, but yes, time is not allowing. But I just want to say thank you still for listening through. I'm sure that at least, if not for anything, you're able to get one or two sizable nitty-gritty from the discourse this morning. Tomorrow is yet another time, and Eagles Outlook will be coming to you via this platform. And I want you to stay safe out there, be security conscious, and make sure to do the right thing always. Have a great day.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
I suppose it was inevitable.
Eagles 102.3.